If you don't know the name Jessie Mei Li yet, rest assured, it's only a matter of time. Since Shadow and Bone's first season, Li has transformed into a breakout star. And thanks to her newfound success, we've learned even more about her. Here are 10 things you probably didn't know about Jessie Mei Li. She comes from a diverse background. Jessie Mei Li was born on August 27, 1995, in Brighton, East Sussex, to an English mother and a Chinese-born, Hong Kong-raised father. She also has one older brother who works as a doctor. She grew up in Redhill, in Surrey, and went on to attend Reigate College before going off to university. She later joined the National Youth Theatre and then went to the Identity School of Acting to learn more about acting. She was bullied in her younger days. Growing up, Li experienced bullying due to her mixed heritage. She told Vanity Fair that people were outright racist and mocked her by using silly accents and the pulling eyes. She said, "I grew up in a predominantly white area in the south of England. Racism towards Asian people in the UK generally, I think more so than the States, is so weird and not taken seriously. The inadequacy and misrepresentation of Asian characters on television made things worse. Asian characters were laughed at. Asian men are emasculated and Asian women are sexualized." Li has learned to accept her identity and is making efforts to connect with her father's side of the family, who now live in Vancouver, Canada. She visited them once in Hong Kong, but as she told South China Morning Post, that trip didn't go too well. "I went once when I was about 19, and I was very ill the whole time. I managed to get really sick. And then I spent most of it just in the hotel, and my aunties and uncles and my family were all coming back and bringing me food and things. It was a shame to miss out." She studied languages at the university. Initially, Li had chosen to study French and Spanish at Sussex University but found herself struggling. She told The Guardian, "I didn't really know what I wanted to do. I chose it because it was close to home, which is never a good choice. I didn't have a good time at uni. It was very detrimental to my well-being. I managed to stay for a year and a half until I decided, you know what, I'm unhappy. So I left." She worked as a teaching assistant before becoming an actor. After leaving university, Li spent her days teaching special needs children. In a roundtable interview, the actor told PopSugar that she'd been well aware of the Shadow and Bone book franchise before joining the show's cast, thanks to her students. She said, "Before becoming an actor, I dropped out of university and I was working as a teaching assistant in a secondary school. This was the age group that Shadow and Bone is very popular with, and I remember lots of my students reading the books." She made her acting debut as a theater actor. In 2019, she made her acting debut, playing the role of Claudia Caswell alongside Gillian Anderson and Lily James in All About Eve during its run at the Noel Coward Theatre. Shadow and Bone happened quickly after that, and, in between, she scored a role in Edgar Wright's Nicholas Roeg-inspired thriller Last Night in Soho. She used fan art as a crutch to nail her Shadow and Bone audition. During an interview with Rose and Ivy in 2021, Li spoke at length about the events leading to her getting the role of Elena Starkov in Shadow and Bone and the unusual way she prepared herself for the initial auditions. While she admits that she eventually became a big fan of the novels, at first her research consisted of looking at fan art for the character to prepare herself, as she wanted to focus most of her time on learning the lines written for her in the script. She said, "I had heard of and I knew they were very popular, but I'll admit that my research for the role before the first audition mainly consisted of looking at fan art. I also just wanted to focus on what was written in the audition script in case it was very different from the books. But I basically binged it, read the trilogy after my first round of auditions. I don't think I ever read anything so fast." Li also revealed that she felt connected to the character almost right away after reading a brief description of the character before auditioning. Still, using fan art is definitely a unique approach to character prep, or at least not something that actors usually admit to doing. Considering that fan art comes from big fans of the source material, it's definitely an inspired method. Regardless, it all seemingly worked out for her in the end. She has ADHD, which she knows when she is adult. She'd struggled all her life with forgetfulness and lateness and couldn't figure out why. During her time on set, younger people diagnosed with ADHD identified her signs and advised that she seek a diagnosis. After filming, a doctor confirmed that she has ADHD. She shared in a post on her Instagram that the diagnosis answered many lifelong questions, and I feel like I'm finally understanding myself. She is a vegan. Though Li hasn't said much about her veganism publicly, she has vegan in her Instagram bio, and she has an interest in vegan junk food and thrifting. She also told Elle that she attempted to turn some of her shadow and bone cast mates vegan. In an interview with Bullied, she shared how her vegan eating habits influence the kind of beauty products she shops for. She said, "I go for the natural, vegan options when I can. I'm also very passionate about sustainability, and I found some really great places that have sustainable skincare and things that don't come in plastic bottles. I feel like a few years ago when I first started out being vegan, I found it difficult to find things, whereas now it's just everywhere. People are changing the way they package makeup and beauty products as well, which is really exciting." She uses both she/they pronouns. As W Magazine has pointed out that Jessie Mei Li uses both she, her, and they/them pronouns. She explained that the reason she uses both is that she's still learning more about her own gender identity. She said, "I was thinking, well, am I completely non-binary? What am I? And I realized, actually I am who I am. I'm first and foremost just a human being who likes what I like. I am also a woman, and that's how the world has viewed me the majority of my life. I'm proud of that as well, and I can identify with both those things." Li also celebrates the fact that this self-exploration has allowed her to be more of who she feels she truly is, which she says is true for all of us. "I think that's the thing with your pronouns and gender identity, you can just be who you are. That was so freeing to me to understand that I could have multiple pronouns, and some friends will refer to me as they, and some will refer to me as she, and that's okay. I'm proud to be gender nonconforming." She didn't realize what stardom entailed. Today, Li is recognized everywhere she goes thanks to shadow and bone, and that is something the thespian wasn't at all prepared for. She told Rose and Ivy, "Downright bizarre. People talk about actors and people in the public eye like they're somehow different from themselves, like every little thing they do is interesting and exciting, even if it's something fairly commonplace or mundane. I'm just a fairly average human being, and while it's lovely receiving kind messages from the fans of the show, I also don't feel deserving of such hyperbolic praise."